How are you doing? My name is Alex with Valet Stories, and as promised, I wanted to give you more top 10 that you guys seem to love to hear about our company. So this one's going to be a little bit more interesting. We're going to talk about the top 10 accidents or claims that were given to us, but we ended up denying for some reason or another. So we're going to go over the details. We're going to talk about what happens, because a lot of times in the world of valet parking, people come into our restaurants and we do something very important called PED, which stands for pre-existing damage. That's when we walk around the vehicle, or the valet should, and mark any accident or damage they see on the vehicle. Now it becomes difficult because are they necessarily noticing a nick on a rim or something like that, or something that's so small you would literally need a magnifying glass? But these are the things we need to look for. So I try to make sure our valets, each and every time when a car comes in, you walk around the vehicle and make sure there's no pre-existing damage on that car. And if so, you mark it just kind of like at a rental dealership and hand it over to them. So if you do it in such a way, then when they come out and try to claim something, you can sit there and say, no, it's already been marked already. We don't try to acknowledge it before they go in, because the last thing you want to hear is, hey, you're out with your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whatever the case is, and the valet's like, hey, you know you have a dent right here? So we kind of stop that. But as long as internally we know that there's damage on this car beforehand, we're going to discuss that with them. So, or we'll discuss it amongst each other so we know what's what. The first one was a 2016, 2017 BMW X3. And we got a call, and it was really crazy. They said we have a scratch down the side of our car. Okay, a scratch. Let's see what it is. Send me the photos. Let me take a look at it. Let me talk to the valets, and we'll take it from there. I see this photo. I'm like, this is not a scratch. This is a gouge in the car. It looks like Wolverine has attacked this vehicle. And it was probably about a ½ an inch thick and all the way through. It cut into the door panel from front to back. And he wants to know what did it. And our simplest thing is come into our parking lot. What could have caused this damage? With that much damage on that vehicle, there's something else that's matching it. And it doesn't even look like it was another vehicle or a tow hook or anything. It looks like it could have been, I really don't know. I really don't know. I think some type of truck might have, like some garbage truck or dump truck went by and has the little tailgate and scratched it. I don't know what it was, but we can tell it didn't happen in our lot, and this was some extreme damage. If this is something a valet did do, in fact, it didn't happen in our lot. So we had to deny the claim. The guy knew more likely than not it didn't happen, but he just wanted to see if we knew anything about it. But this was some serious damage. Whoever ended up having to fix that probably cost several $1,000s. The next story we have, this happens quite a bit. And now that the cars are starting to age out, which means this happened in a lot of 90s and early 2000 cars, we're now 20 years later, we're not seeing these cars so much. But what it is, we have a lot of broken door handles on the inside and outside. We have to explain what valets do. Valets, it's our job to get in the car, use a door handle, use a key to turn the ignition, anything like that. It's called reasonable care. And as long as we're not trying to jerk the doors or anything like that, that's pretty crazy. But we constantly would get phone calls all the time about broken door handles. And I would always ask, is it a Lexus ES300 or a Toyota Camry? For some reason, they must use the same part or the same product line. Whoever was supplying those door handles, they were the same, because they were snapping like crazy after like 5 to 6 years. And if you look anywhere, you see them all snapped off. And also on the inside of Honda Accords, you would see all the time that the door handles would be broken. And unfortunately, we can't be held responsible for that, because that's kind of a defect of the manufacturer. And yes, we do open a door, and sometimes the handles do break in our arms. And we used to pay for a lot of them, but then we realized there was a certain pattern with a whole bunch of Lexus and Camrys. And we're like, this is too much, to the point where it can't be us. So we started denying those claims, but honestly, we haven't gotten those calls in about 2 years, because, as I said, those cars are starting to age out. The next one is a Hyundai Veloster, if that's what it's called. It's the little two-door Hyundai car that they have. And one of my really good valets parked this vehicle, and when he pulled it up, the lady was very nice. She got in the car and drove away. 2 days later, we get a phone call saying there was a big dent on the door, and it was by the insurance company. So I said, of course, send us the pictures. And we get the pictures, and it's a dent about the size of a beach ball. That's something that's noticeable, and it's on the driver's door. It was actually right behind the driver's door. So this is something we would have noticed. And so I called my valet and I said, hey, do you recognize the car? He's like, yeah, I actually complimented the lady on her car because I enjoyed driving it so much. She got in the car. If something like that was on it, she would have noticed as she got inside the door. So when I told that to the insurance company, they also agreed, and that was automatically, we were off the hook with that, because the valet's like, hey, absolutely, I didn't do anything with it. I'm very responsible. So we're not quite sure how the damages happen on some of these vehicles. And they never called back to either apologize and said, hey, I figured it out. But nonetheless, these are the claims that we get on a constant basis. So we have to make sure that we try to do those PED damages. But again, this lady called us 2 days later, so this could have happened anywhere. She could have gone to the grocery store, it could have been happened at her job, but still they try to blame it to the valet because those are the last people that were in their car that probably could have done it. The next one, this one was actually when I was working, and it was a Honda S2000. And the customer was very upset. He came back the next day and said there's a hole in his front bumper. And unfortunately, I didn't get a picture of it, but there was a hole in the front bumper. And in this parking lot, I used to park the cars across the row, and then we put an identical set of cars in front of it. So he figured it was a car with or SUV or a truck with a tow hook, or not tow hook, but the little tow behind. And he thought I went too far and punctured it. And I said, of course not, because you would feel something like that. You would jar a whole car, and actually, if the S2000 is parked and it's locked, it would probably set the alarm off with that kind of impact. So he was very adamant. He went to the restaurant to complain about it. We were actually a little embarrassed, but we found out afterwards the guy called back a day later and said, you know what? I remember hitting something on the freeway, and that's probably what caused the gash. So in his particular case, he was very honest. A lot of people don't do that. Even if they did something and they accused a valet of something, they're not going to call back. So that guy was decent enough to call back and said, you know what, I figured out what it was. It wasn't your valet. I'm sorry for accusing him. So kudos to him. It doesn't happen often, but those are some of the things that happen out in our field. The next one was a very interesting case. This was a W202 Mercedes. That's the chassis code, and it was a C280. And this lady came in to one of our private-only members club, and the valet parked the car. When the second valet brought the car down, she had one of these very flimsy cup holders and a Solo cup, the little red Solo cups in it. And since it didn't grab all the way, when the valet slowed down, the cup fell out and poured into the center console and over the shifter. For some reason, I don't know why, but it shut this car down where it wouldn't start again. Had to go over to Mercedes, and I don't even know what it had to replace, but it was $1,600 worth of damage. And we said we're not responsible for that. Yes, I know, of course, it was in the cup holder, but again, it's that thing that we said about reasonable care. There was nothing we could have done to stop that from happening. It's not the valet's responsibility to check cup holders. She did not put a recommended cup in that cup holder. Therefore, and that was very controversial because it went back to our account, which was the private-only members club, and then it tried to go to court. She tried to sue us for this. But again, we went through court, and court actually said, you know what? They are right. That's not our responsibility to know what's inside these cup holders. If it's something flimsy or something she think might spill, she should have notified us of it. And if that's the case, most people pour any type of liquids that they have out because nobody ever knows how the valets drive. They could be doing donuts, which they're not. But you don't know what they're doing, and that's something that they do to try to lessen something like that from occurring in the future. So we ended up going to court. That case took almost 6 months, but we ended up winning on that one. And not that we're proud of it, but at the same time, if it's something like that, that shouldn't have been in a flimsy type cup holder in the first place. Our next case was pretty funny. We get a call from a lady, and she says we dented her car. We put a door ding in her car, which is usable. But here's the thing. All cars are parked in reverse. So if we were to put a door ding in a car, you would get out of the driver's door here, you would put a door ding on the passenger side. So that's the first thing. If anybody ever says they have a door ding on the driver's side, chances are it didn't happen. But this one was in fact on the passenger side. So I said, send me the pictures, let me take a look at it. I got the pictures, and this was really weird. It was something, I don't think it was a door ding at all. In fact, it looked like someone shot the car with a BB, because it was a chip of paint. It was a white Lexus, and it has that very expensive paint. The Starfire Pearl was one of the most expensive colors I ever made. So we looked at it, and it was tremendous on how much of the paint was gone, but it was like a perfect little dent in it, as you can see in the photo. So we shot that down. We said, chances are that's not a valet incident. That looks like someone shot your car. If you have children or anything, that could look like something that was, again, hit with some type of BB to hit your car, but that's not a valet door or anything, any door of that matter. So we were able to shoot that down, and that's perfectly fine. And please understand, we have a lot of claims that we do pay for, but these are just claims that came across our desk, and we're like, chances are we didn't do this. And it's funny because usually how people respond dictate on, yeah, you're right, it probably happened somewhere else, but it's like they're trying to get a go and see if we can have the valets pay for it. If the valets pay for it, great. If not, we'll just go somewhere else. And I can usually tell, because if they don't put up much of a fight, yeah, they knew already that it didn't happen in our parking lot. The next one was kind of similar. It was another Honda, and it was another hole in the front bumper, and they're saying that it was caused in reverse. But remember, I told you in the parking lot that I was at, the cars were parked in front of each other, so there's a chance that it could have happened. This one, there was nothing in front of the car. And remember, we always valet park cars in reverse. So anytime there's damage done to the front of the car, it's very less likely for that to happen because cars are always in reverse. We're not going forward, so it's very hard for us to hit things going forward. I mean, it's possible, but most of our damages that we have over the years are on rear bumpers, or rear side panels or quarter panels or something like that. So chances are it did not happen in our lot, but this person was very insistent, and we walked the lot, went over everything, and I'm not quite sure what it was, but that one was shot down, and we didn't have any issues out of her. So that was the end of that one. The next one, pretty interesting. Over the years, when I started out as a valet, years and years and years ago, we had blade keys. So we had the typical blade keys that you have that you don't have today. Today we have all these key fobs. And if key fobs came out, I would say probably in 2000, early 2000s when the key fobs came out. So after 5 or 10 years, what happens to these key fobs? They start breaking, they become brittle. So what happened, we have these Mercedes keys, and when you're pushing a button all the time, over the years, who knows, 3, 4, 5 times a day for whatever, 10 years, those buttons start to break. So they look at us, and again, if the valet hits the button to unlock the door and it cracks, they want to blame us. But unfortunately, we can't be responsible for something. If you turn it over and look and see all the buttons, you can't even see the symbols of the trunk anymore because it's worn down so much by the fingers. So that's something we can't be responsible. But what I do, I try to help people out by looking up information. So I look online, and they actually make a replacement piece for $7 because they know those are wear and tear parts. So you can just open up the remote, place it, replace it, and swap it out. So if the people are nice to me and they're really respectful, I'll order the part. It's only $7. And I'll tell them to come by the office, and I think it takes me 10 minutes or so to swap it out. So we'll do that a lot of times just to stay in the good graces of these customers and with the restaurants. And what does it cost us? $7. And I guarantee next time they come in, they'll tip the valet 10 or 20 bucks because they're so happy with the way our company handled things. So even though we didn't have to pay for it and it wasn't our fault, we do things like that just because. The next case we got, basically, it was a Nissan Quest. And that's the little van, Nissan minivan, and it had a dent in the back of it. And this one was really odd. It didn't even look, here's the thing, you got to look at physics. If you have a car and it's backing up and you have the bumper's going to hit a wall first, unless you're hitting a tree that may slope over, but that's another story. But in our particular parking lots, and I know I say that a lot, we back these cars up and we know if anything's going to hit, it's going to be the wall. The Nissan Quest actually has a trunk that goes like this, and honestly it looked like she had kids and the kids were playing football and they ran into the car. It was almost a perfect body indention in this car. So we looked at that and we said, no, that can't happen in our parking lot. You can look around, and if you see anything that looks like it, let us know. But that looks like a body hit the car. And she actually agreed with us and said she was going to talk to her sons about it and see if they had any stories they needed to tell her. So we never heard back from her, but good luck to those boys. The next story we have, and this is the final one, and this is the one that always gets us. it's the Lexus keys that snap. I don't care who you are, when you put these keys in the car, Lexus had a very poor design. So at the base of the key, it got weak and brittle, and over time of turning the car over and over and over again, they would snap. And they would snap in our hands. And I think over the years, we've snapped at least 25 to 30 of them. And of course the customers get upset with us. And we tell them, unfortunately, it's a defect of Lexus. But we tell them you can go online and pick them up. You can pick up a replacement, because they would go to Lexus and Lexus wants to sell them a whole new entire key for $250, $300, Lexus dealership prices. But what we do, we say go on eBay and you can actually buy the heads and just pull the blade out and put them into another one, screw it in, and that gives you another key, and it's actually heavy duty and it's stronger and nothing's going to happen. So what I do now, I think I order like 10 of those keys, and I keep them in my drawer or keep them in a closet. And we actually had one come across our desk about 2 weeks ago. So I said, you know what, just bring it by the office. I'll swap it out for you. It'll take you about 5 minutes and you'll have a brand new key. So again, these are things that we keep in inventory to keep the customers happy. If it's something that costs us $5, $10, $20, even up to $50, it's worth it, because it's more positive reviews than negative. We'd rather have positive than negative reviews for something that's preventable. Even though it's not preventable so much, we still try as much as possible to keep the customers happy, because we are in a customer service business. We're not in a business to just pretty much tell people, you're on your own, good luck. So we try to treat people the way we would treat our parents or our family or even ourselves. So tell me, have you experienced anything like this? Some of these cars that have these defects on it, or sometimes it's very important to make sure you walk around those cars and make sure there's no damage before or after. But these are the important things that we do to try to stay safe. So please like the video. If you haven't, subscribe, and of course, let us know what's going on. Share these videos, show your friends. These are insane stories, and trust me, they're only going to get better. So have a great night, and I will talk to you next time.